to changing conjecture. So the new strategic concept will be accepted within the summit, which will shape the future of NATO. The Russian-Ukrainian war and its ramifications on the alliance, the deterrence capacity of NATO, and the threats arising out of southern hemisphere of the NATO, including but not limited to terrorism, will be discussed. Our expectation from the summit is the presentation of the spirit of solidarity without any conditions whatsoever. So we expect from our allies not to discriminate between NATO members, and threat against one should be interpreted as threat against all. That is our expectation from NATO. The process after the application of Sweden and Finland for membership, of course, in nature will be one of the topics at the forefront. And our stance regarding to this issue is known by everyone. PKK, PYD, and YPG and all their offsprings and offshoots are venturing freely in those countries, and we are expecting those terrorist organizations to be prevented acting and operating freely in those countries. And I will express our expectations once again. And in our bilateral talks, we will discuss those matters. As we went to Madrid, we will have a four-way meeting with the participation of Secretary General of NATO, Finland, and the Sweden heads of state. The Finland and Sweden memberships can bring along certain challenges. If they are about to become members, they have to take into consideration the security concerns of Turkey, which has been a member for the last 70 years. Otherwise, it's not possible to think. So, in order to put an end to the ongoing war in Ukraine, we are in correspondence with both actors. If you recall, the most important development has taken place thanks to the meeting that we have convened on the month of March. During this summit, the support of the allies will continue, but I will also underline the importance of the role to be played by NATO. Turkey is one of the top five allies which contributed remarkably to the NATO operations, and we are doing our shares by making use of the cutting-edge technology in air, sea, and land. We are contributing remarkably to the capacities and the skills of NATO. And we are fighting against terrorism, and we are also playing critical roles for the prevention of mass migration on the southern axis and flank of NATO. As the threats vary and increase, we will once again reaffirm the importance that we attach to the alliance. Throughout the summit, I will have bilateral talks with certain heads of state and governments, and through those bilateral talks, we will assess our cooperation within NATO and the global agenda. Of course, this morning we have learned that one of the most important actors of the Turkish cinema, Cüneyt Arkın, passed away. I would like to extend my condolences to all his beloved ones, his family, and on behalf of myself, my family, and my nation, I once again would like to extend my condolences to whole Turkish cinema. So as I conclude my remarks with those thoughts in my mind, I hope that our visit and our diplomatic correspondences would be auspicious, and I extend my deepest respect to each one of you. Mustafa Yildirim from TRT News. His Excellency, Mr. President, my question will be about the four-way meeting. So you will participate in a four-way meeting in which NATO Secretary General Finland and Sweden will also participate. But in the light of the latest developments unfolding, do you expect that the tangible and the concrete steps would be taken that Turkey is expecting? And after the meeting, do you think that the stance of Finland and Sweden regarding to Turkey might change? Valuable friends, as I have stated, we are, as the Republic of Turkey, is a 70-year-old member of NATO. Turkey didn't become a NATO member by random. So this morning we have spoken with Mr. Biden, and he expressed that he is willing to come together with us either this night, and we responded positively. Both Mr. Ibrahim Kalın and Sedat, we have sent them to Brussels, and they had the preliminary talks in Brussels, and we will listen from them about those preliminary talks. So, within the participation of Stoltenberg, we will have the four-way meeting. The Finnish President and the Swedish Prime Minister, we will get together with them in this four-way meeting, and we will see to which point they have reached so far. We don't want to hear empty words. We want the results, the concrete results. We don't want this process to be stalled any further. So what they do is to come up with words. So, although they articulate those words, the same day you see one of the ringleaders of those terrorist organizations do a TV interview and he criticizes us. On the other hand, the Swedish government says that we don't recognize them as terrorists, but on the other hand, the supporters of those terrorist organizations are demonstrating on the Swedish streets under the guarantee of police forces. So is it limited to Sweden? No. The same thing happens in Germany and also in Netherlands, and the same things happen in Greece. So those demonstrations go on. On one side, you see 9 American bases are constructed in Greece. Why did you construct those bases? Against whom? And their answer is we constructed those American bases against Russia. So, at the end of the day, you are criticizing us about S-400. So, they are only opting for those empty words, and most probably we will assess those matters together with Mr. Biden, either the talks that we will have tonight or tomorrow. But we should never forget that we always had those problems. We have always been attacked by the terrorist organizations, and we didn't see any stance from those aforesaid countries, and of course we will tell them those matters once again. Esra Nehir from Habertürk TV, you have stated in your speech that you will have bilateral talks with the leaders. Which of those bilateral talks are certain right now? And you have stated that you will speak with Joe Biden and you will discuss the matters of S-400s. Apart from the S-400, which topics will you plan to discuss with Joe Biden? Dear colleagues, as you know, we had talks with the United States of America regarding to F-16 fighter jets. And the negotiations go on, but unfortunately the tactics of stalling those negotiations are still present. The Greece Prime Minister was my invitee, as you know, and we stated that let's have bilateral talks, and we have come to terms to speak directly without the involvement of the third parties. After 3 weeks, he went to USA and he delivered a speech in the Senate of USA, and he attacked Turkey once again, and he brought to the agenda of the purchase of F-16 fighter jets. Dear friends, we know who they are, what they are, and as you know, Fethullah terrorist organization who plotted against Turkey within the 15th of July coup attempt sought shelter in Greece. The ones who escaped from Turkey have chosen Greece. The coup plotters have sought shelter in Greece. And although we have spoken with the Greek Prime Minister and he promised us to find those terrorists, they fed those terrorists, and via Greece they sent farewells to those terrorists as they went to different European countries. So we will not be deceived by those words. So we are expecting a principled stance by our interlocutors and our counterparts. So if they are not showing such a principled stance against Turkey, then our position will stay the same, and we will not step back from the position of Turkey. CNN Türk TV, Arda Erdoğan, His Excellency Mr. President, you have stated that Turkey will continue to show his stance. Many leaders, including Mitsotakis, will participate in the NATO summit. If Mitsotakis asks for a meeting, what will be your response? Thank you very much. So it's not possible for me to have bilateral talk with Mitsotakis. I have already explained it, so obviously you don't follow us. Normally, with Greece, we were going to have our high-level strategic council meeting, but we cancelled it, as you know. So from now on, it's not possible for us to convene high-level strategic council meeting with Greece. So a leader who cancelled such kind of a meeting, do you think that he will say yes to a request coming from Mitsotakis to have bilateral talk in NATO summit? No, we close the doors. So first of all, they will come to their senses, and if they come to their senses, then we can re-evaluate at what level we can have bilateral talks or not. Hürriyet newspaper, Gizem Karakış, within the alliance for the first time, a session about terrorism on the southern axis will be held, and Turkey plays a very important part in that regard. So a session about fighting against terrorism on the southern axis will be held in Madrid. What would you like to say about it? Dear colleagues, as you know, the most important power in this part is Turkey. So do you think that NATO will be daring to lose such a power like Turkey? And it's not easy, as I articulated. Turkey has been a member of NATO for the last 70 years, and within NATO, Turkey is one of the top 5 countries with all its aspects and all its strength. And Turkey, up until now, has used and mobilized his strength for the benefit and interests of NATO without any sacrifices and without sacrificing from the principles of NATO. And we are determined to stick with those principles. So within the NATO Leaders Summit, the NATO Summit of the Heads of State and Government, we will express what has been done so far, and by articulating the Article 5th, we will once again ask them what NATO did, although trucks and lorries of weapons and arms have been provided to the terrorist organizations. The number one country within NATO is the United States of America, so all those weapons and guns, trucks, loads of weapons and guns, came from United States of America. Although we have spoken with him today in the morning, I will tell him the same thing. So we are allies, and we state that we are fighting shoulder to shoulder, but why all those weapons, arms and guns are sent to PKK, YPG and PYD, and against whom those weapons are used? You stated that the American bases are constructed against Russia in Greece, but I would like to ask against whom those weapons are used by the terrorist organizations. They are used against Turkey. As I stated, France is our ally within NATO. As you know, Lafarge cement producing factory with the investment of Lafarge company in the northern Syria, the caves have been constructed for the terrorist organizations, and we have expressed those matters repeatedly, but they didn't intervene in this process. So we know them very well. Of course, step by step, we will bring those matters into the NATO summit agenda. Hasan Ulaş from Haber Global. His Excellency Mr. President, Turkey has always opted for putting an end to the fight through peaceful manners, and in order to solve the grain problem, Turkey has shown very intense diplomatic efforts. So is there a certain date about the resolution of those problems, and what role Turkey will play in that regard? Valuable friends, of course, setting a date will depend on developments unfolding, and based on those developments, we might set a date for the solution of those problems. So we can see in certain places that there are positive developments, but based on those developments, as the Republic of Turkey, we will shape our roadmap accordingly, and necessary intervention by Turkey will be made swiftly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.